Hey, everybody, it's time for Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. And it's also the Olympics, and it's also the All-Star Game, and it's also Trevor Hendry's birthday. Enjoy. Well, hello, Jeff. I'm back from Canada. You're back from the All-Star Game, and it is another episode of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. How are you?
Hello, Lord Beg. I'm good. Yes, a big weekend in Vegas. Had the All-Stars here. And we had the NFL here, but since we're a hockey podcast,
also, wasn't there a fight? Wasn't there a fight this weekend too?
There could have been. You know what? That's what happens in Vegas. Is like stuff goes on, and then you drive by a billboard like the next Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's still up. You're like, oh, I didn't even know that was here. And one of my favorite ones is it happens every once in a while. Brian Adams, right? He comes to Vegas every once in a while, and sure as anything, I'll be driving towards the airport and I'll look and I'll go, hey, I want to go see Brian Adams, but he was here last week. So it's tough to keep up on it all. And that is correct. So
I tell you what, that must cut like a knife.
I'd love to see him, but yeah, there could have been a fight here this weekend. I do know there was a Pro Bowl and an NHL All Star Game and lots of shenanigans. And the All Star Game was kind of cool because they set stuff up in the Bellagio fountain for a skills competition, and they shut down Las Vegas Boulevard, which only happens a couple times a year. New Year's Eve being one of them. I think they shut it down when NASCAR comes to town. Might be one other time, but the NHL All Star Game was able to shut down Las Vegas Boulevard so they could have a skills competition. It was really cool. So I like what they
from what I watched. I thought it was really fun. They had some, some interesting ideas. Did they all hit 100%? No, but you gotta give the NHL just kudos for stepping outside their comfort zone and trying things. And the people that complain about things can complain about things, but you just got to be, you try it. It's fun. It's supposed to be a fun weekend. And I thought everything they did was just fun. So boom.
Yeah. And they had a lot of good things going on because let's be real here. You're going to get some intensity out of the final game. That's for $1 million for everything. But these guys don't want to show each other up. They don't want to go super hard. They don't want to look like the guy that wrecked the All-Star Game. So having all the fun and entertainment around it kind of helps support an All-Star Game that maybe, is not quite at the intensity to the last game for all the money that everyone was kind of hoping for. But these are the best players in the world.
What do you think this? What if they put all forwards in, no defensemen, like no defensemen were invited to the All-Star Game, and it was just all forwards because nobody plays defense. So,
and then you wouldn't have Cal McCarr,
who cares?
He's more offensive than 90% of the forwards in the league. So you'd be missing out. Who cares?
I just loved your face.
Who cares? Who cares? This kid, leave him at home, Cal and Yossi. You guys, we don't need you here. You guys, just beat it. Two of the best players in the game. He's got like more goals than 90% of the forwards in the league right now. But we're going to leave you at home this year because you don't provide enough upside for us.
Right. That's awesome.
But I do like where you're going in one regard with that because I've never met a forward that likes to spend 1 minute in his own zone. So the games would be like 11-10, and they're only what are they, 15-minute games or something? So 20-minute games.
I'll be just back and forth. It'd be crazy. It'd be fun. I just think they should not have the defensemen play defense. It should just all be offense. And because guys, you can tell when they're coming back are just trying not to get smoked by a puck or whatever. I thought the skills competition was fun. Also, one thing they went back to this year was Styrofoam for the accuracy.
Yeah.
Which is just the technology didn't work with the bright lights. It's this breaking of the foam that's exciting. So
it is. I mean, wasn't that you hit that and it made kind of a goofy sound, but people when the styrofoam gets smashed, it's kind of people like that. They can there's something you can tell a guy hit the target and way it goes. So
breaking styrofoam is the same as bubble popping. It's the instant human stop.
It is. Bubble popping's right up there, but Aho won it, and incredible job he did. I think he got it in all 4 shots. And the cool thing was, is he just ticked the one. He didn't even break the one styrofoam. He just ticked the bottom of it, but took a chunk out of it. And I think he went 4 for 4, or he had 4 and 5 shots. I'm not sure. But you know what my favorite part was, and I love this part about it, because the passers. Okay, so this is the passers on one of them. I forget who the one female hockey player was who was passing, and it was Nick Suzuki. And I forget who she was, but the other passers for, I think, like maybe it was Giroux, or it might have been Aho. You had Cal McCarr. I don't know if he's the odds-on favorite to win the Norris as the best defenseman in the league, although you wouldn't have him in the game. He's one of the best players in the world. And the other guy is Eggy, Derek England, our old buddy, who just retired. So all this stress, you got a guy who's at the top of his game, and Cal McCarr passing the puck to the other side. I don't know. I guess he just wanted Eggy out there, because Eggy was doing some color commentary.
I'm just like but the fact that Cal McCarr even was one of the other ones. It should have been. Carrot Top should have been the third one. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. Well, you could see Eggy, and Eggy's only a year removed from playing, but you know, those other guys, like McCarr's just ripping it at Aho or whoever it was. I think it was Aho, and he's boom, boom. And you could see Eggy, he's doing his best. He's kind of trying to steer it. And I'm like, holy cow, Eggy, that's a lot of pressure. I'm surprised he didn't throw one off his knee pads. But I love that. You got Derek England, who's the face of the Golden Knights and the Vegas Golden Knights alumni. He's the president now, retired. Really love him. I had the pleasure of coaching him when he was in the ECHL with the Las Vegas Wranglers. Always been a big fan of his. So he's a huge part of our community. And then you got, like, on the other side, you got Eggy, who's retired and worrying about alumni stuff now and helping out the owner, Bill Foley. Then the other side, you got Cal McCarr. And that's true. I'm like, what's McCarr doing out there?
Yeah.
Joe Sacco was probably losing it. It's like, get him off the ice.
You know what's funny about that is it's kind of I was talking to Trent about this, and he's like, people don't get how great these players are when they do the speed and stuff like that. They should put a normal person that starts it, so they're at like 16. Like the best guy out of Canadian Beer League goes out there and he's at 17 seconds around the rink, and then they're fighting for 13.2 just to show you the difference in the speed. And that's one of those things where you don't have a professional passing the puck, so you have to make all 5 of those targets, but you got a donkey like me passing you the puck. That would help everything out.
I think that would be the great equalizer. Is just having a guy from the rec league come out and do the passing. But what's funny is, you know what, we should actually pitch that idea, because that could be a win. You win that opportunity to be the passer of the puck, and it just shows, it just advertises the game a little bit more. So much fun, because they had Manon Riom and an actor from LA. Forget his name right now, but Manon that was there, ex-teammate, and they went in to for some of the skills. Yeah, she was in Vegas here for a cup of coffee with us. Yeah,
I did not know that.
That was our goalies. We had Manon, Pokey, Reddick, and Clint Malarchuk.
God. So
I'll never forget. We had a lot of fun with Manon. She's awesome. She was a lot of fun. She would always just give it to Clint, and Clint, as you know, is one of the characters of the game, and he just loved it. Anytime you give the business to Clint, he'd give it right back to you. So Manon was a lot of fun when she was here, and we had a lot of fun with her. And then Poke, of course, she had Clint and Pokey, who were NHL goalies, right? They were had just come down from the show, and we had Manon, and it was good. So we had a lot of fun with that team. That group of players was a lot of fun, and she was hilarious.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Clint right now. Just read his book. Also go to, what's Corey's podcast called? What's it?
Oh, you went and stuck that to me, didn't? It is Blindsided.
Corey Hirsch does a mental health podcast, and it is something else. And Clint's on that. You might want to listen to that. You can get it on wherever you get your podcast. Blindsided with Corey Hirsch, and a psychiatrist is on that, and she walks you through things trying to help people out, and it's just crazy. But Clint's story is just was Clint's story, did it happen before he played with you or afterwards?
Yeah, well, I mean, they walk it right back from when Clint was a kid, and I'll tell you about this guy. This guy is one of the greatest people I've ever met in the game, and anyone who played with Clint would say the same thing. He is awesome, and he'd do anything for you, but he had to fight some things from being when he was young right through. And if you listen to the Blind Side, pumping Hershey's podcast, but I think we've talked about it before, and Clint was the first one, and they've also done one with Bissonette with Biz, and these are phenomenal. I think he did one with
Kevin
pro
Love.
golfer. I think it was Kevin Love, and I'm not sure Bubba Watson was in there or not. But anyway, since we're hockey, we'll talk about Clint. And wonderful teammate, incredible athlete, tough as nails too. I'll tell you what, he was. You don't want to get on the wrong side of him, but every warm up that when I was with the Thunder, I used to shoot first from the left wing, and we'd warm up, and we'd have three lines. So one over by the boards above the blue line, one over in the middle of the ice, above the blue line, one on the far boards, and I'd shoot it into his glove. And every once in a while, I wouldn't hit his glove, and he'd look at me, shake his head. I'd have to go back and get another puck. I'd put it in his glove, and then he'd nod his head at me, go, "All right, we're good." And then he'd go to the center.
No way.
Oh yeah, like I had more pressure on me before the game than I had during the game because I had to put it in his glove, because we had it a certain way. And Clint will talk about his superstitions, and he'll talk a lot of other things in Blindsided. But as opposed to what you and I do, Blindsided actually has some pretty good audio, and they have a professional on there talking instead of two guys like us. But Hershey does a great job hosting.
We should change this to Donkey Talk. That's what we should call this, Donkey Talk.
We're a lot closer to that than we are. But blindsided. There you go, Hershey, and Clint's on it. We'll make sure when we start doing interviews, which we keep threatening to do, but we'll get Clint on and talk to him. He's a lot of fun.
We have to start doing interviews at some point.
That was all because we started talking about Manoa, and we got all the way to Clint. But anyways, fantastic guy. Great.
I love that she was at the game, and that is something that's kind of cool. If they might want to think about doing that, where you're allowed to pitch ideas, and our idea that we pitch is that it's a giveaway that you win, that you get to pass the pucks to the guys when they're trying to do the accuracy. Let's move on from the All-Star Game. It was I think it was a success. Your thumbs up.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? Like I said, the on the ice product got better as they got closer to the final, but these guys are all unbelievable. The skills competition was Zegras from Anaheim, Hughes from New Jersey, and we had Pietrangelo from Vegas. And I'm trying to think, we had one other one. I can't remember who the other one was, but these guys were all way above. I mean, just trying outside the envelope of where hockey normally operates comfortably. Zegras did. What's the guy from dodgeball? Matt. What was he called in dodgeball?
Matt Lafleur.
Matt Lafleur. So he came out, and they had the mascots throw balls at him. Well, he went down blindfolded on a breakaway and scored. And you want us to talk about some hands? And then Hughes did a magic trick, and the mini Hughes came out and scored. And then we had Pietrangelo that he came out with the Vegas drum line. If you've ever been in a Vegas game, they're a big part of the activity and the entertainment, and just had a lot of fun. And of course, then they had some Hollywood celebs as judges, and they had Mark Messier and Paul Coffey on the panel, and then I think it was Jack, was it Ham, the actor from LA, and Darren, and Waller, Darren Waller from the Raiders, and they also had a couple of other Raiders come out, so they intermingled with the two local teams, and that was really cool. So I'm sure a lot of the people that watched the All-Star Weekend festivities. If you didn't, go on there and Google some of it. just All-Star weekend, and you'll see what we're talking about. I know I'm missing somebody too, and
you know what you're missing. You know what you're missing is the best ever. The whole part of the whole weekend, the best part of the whole weekend was when they had the mascots out there, and Arizona's mascot couldn't skate as they go through these problems. It just says where Arizona's at. Just a show.
And you know what's great? It was posted by I forget her handle. It was like Rask2, or anyways, it was someone, a gal in a Boston Bruins jersey with Rask, their goalie. Anyways, I just laughed.
Oh, so good.
You got, well, maybe Brian could put it up. So I don't know if he can put up and play the video.
I think we have it on in the Slices group on Facebook, and I think we have it in the on the Slices Twitter. So go to there if you want to see them. We're not gonna. You have to go someplace to actually see this. It's just awesome. Let's move on from the All-Star Game. Let's go across the water. Let's go to the Beijing Olympics. Let's go to female hockey has started out, and it is quite the game. I should have wrote it down, but I don't think anybody's been COVID positive in hockey yet.
Not that I know of. There has been some injuries, but I mean, you know, everybody, there seems to be an athlete here or there in every sport getting it. So hopefully that kind of, you know, just is very isolated. You hate to see like someone go all the way over there.
They did make the Canadians and somebody else wear masks. The other Russians, and it didn't slow them down one bit because you know, once you have that face mask on, it doesn't matter what you do underneath it, anyways. But let's start out on the Team China relative of one of the people on this panel. Boom, Jeff Sharples, who's on the China team.
Okay, so we got a cousin, a niece that grew up in Vancouver, but she's played college hockey, and then she's traveled around and played. And her ancestry, her granddad Wilford, who was one of the greatest people I ever met, their family started and came from China to the western part of Canada. Vancouver, Victoria area. So Leah was born.
I don't believe it. Chinese people have never moved to Vancouver.
I know people in Vancouver, you're going to be shocked to hear this, but yeah, so he moved over and his daughter Debbie as Leah's mom. And of course, they can't go over to China to watch, but Leah, as a kid that grew up and is just moved along, is able to participate for China in the Olympics. And which is really amazing in this, and you'll see this in the Olympics, you'll see people that started off in, you know, one country that skate or, you know, ski or play hockey for another. It's not uncommon, right? But what I think is amazing, and what I think is a tipping point for a young lady like Leah and the other girls in the Chinese national team, is China wants to introduce winter sports to 300 million people. Okay, these girls are the cutting edge of hockey in China, and for the women's side specifically. And I think it's incredible. Now, with that population that they have in China and the resources that they've shown that they're willing to throw at things, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Chinese programs in hockey, men and women, develop over the years. They are on the cusp of grabbing third spot in the, I guess the Group A is Canada, US, and that's what kind of stacked. And then Group B, they're in Group B and they're in third. So if they end up in third, I think they get Canada in the first game of the quarters, which Canada, we'll talk about them in a minute. They've been incredible, but they play with a lot of energy. They play with a lot of pace. And I just think it's really good because in the women's game, it all seems to come down to Canada, US. Well, these other countries are slowly getting there, and now China's on board. And I just think it'll help develop it globally. It's a shame that the NHL players couldn't be there, but the best women's players in the world are playing in this event. And Leah's no exception. She's probably one of their top players for Team China, and good for her.
Yeah, I think it's great. I also think that's how you build your program in these countries. You should be, if you want to be building your ladies hockey, you should be grabbing some of these players, whether it be China, Japan, even Australia or New Zealand or they're, you know, Canada is full of people from around the world, and they can only present one team. They can only field one team. So there's a lot of extra players, and if you look back in their roots, you can put them on these other teams: England, Ireland, Scotland. So that's how you build the game. So I hope they do more of that. China's smart by doing that.
Well, China, you know, you can say whatever you want, but I can tell you the infrastructure that they're willing to put in for this is incredible. And someone might say, well, hang on a second. You should be born and raised, like, you know, but just remember, a lot of the people that are building these programs come from other places,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I mean, soccer, I don't know if maybe we did in the United States or Canada with Canadians, but if you look at all the influx that we've had from around the world, just as a, you know, one game that's a world game, we have so much influence from around the world that's helped grow the game of soccer, for example, in North America. So let's kind of put all that hockey expertise that might otherwise not get a chance to get out there. Let's go and place that where we can too. And it's not, you know, she has a connection to the country. That's where her family came from. So it's funny. She's done a great job, and China really impressed me. I've watched them play 2 games, and the level of the women's hockey. We'll get on to, I guess, the Canada US here in a second, but the level of the women's hockey is very impressive. And Canada US played last night. Canada beat the US 4-2, and the pace of play with those girls and the creativity and the thought process and the structure that they're playing with, but more than anything, the pace, and they're aggressive. I mean, it was greasy, cross-checking each other on the ice against the boards, running each other over. And there's not supposed to be any hitting in women's hockey, but it was entertaining to see. So
There's not supposed to be hitting, but there's hitting, and it's, I enjoy when they cut to the bench after they come off after doing something. They're like,
I know, yeah, they like the guys. You know, it's funny to watch their reaction compared to the guys. Like they get into it, and then they kind of like after they just go to the bench, and yeah, they might you know
they
do
have a
something
little
different.
laugh.
Where the guys keep chirping at each other, whereas the gals, they go out there and do their thing, and they kind of leave it, and then the next play they're out there, you know, giving it to each other again.
It's
But
a,
I will.
it's a fun game. They're really fun to watch. If you haven't watched any of the female hockey, get out there, watch the game. It's such a good game, and I can't wait until hopefully this helps them build a pro league. I know they're trying and trying and trying. I don't know if the pro league they build is the same organizational structure as the men's game. It might have to be something different, more like a you know, a traveling show where there's a tournament in different towns for, you know, six different tournaments over 3 months or something like that. You know, that might be the way they have to do it, but it's worth going and checking out, definitely.
Well, it comes down to financing in the end, and of course, then you got to have some structure to your league. I mean, even when you look at the NHL, as hard as it tries to get as competitive as it can over the course of time, you can see a split this year, specifically in the Eastern Division. The thing is, there's not as many players on the female side at this particular time, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of really, really good players. And for example, I've always said this about any young, correct? I always say this about, sorry, I can't turn that off today, but I say this about any young man or young woman is these girls that played last night, the Canada US, and this will go through the majority of these players in that tournament, but on the female side, every one of those girls had attended a college, and there was 13 different universities represented, and a lot of them still playing down here in the States. But so what I'm getting at is not only can these girls operate at the highest level of hockey, they also can tie in an education to it. And now these girls, when they come out, are heroes of their country, like all Olympians are. And anyways, I just I'd love to. I'm with you. I'd love to see it grow into something bigger, a professional league, and it doesn't have to be 32 teams. just has to be, I don't know, whatever, 6, 8, 10, 12 teams, really good hockey with financial backing and a structure
It's
to
get you
kind
got
of push it out there.
you have to look outside of the box and figure out how to, with travel and with everything like that, how they can make it work. And it's probably going to be baseball style, where they're in one town for a number of days. So that's where the tournament might come into play, and instead of doing you can still do a league like who beats, you can have one tournament at the end where it's the top four winners of 6 tournaments. That's your championship. But it's you gotta figure out how to get the most for your buck. So I think that if they're smart and they just don't think, oh, it's got to be that way, they can create something. So
Yeah.
and I do, Jeff, it also you to create more people wanting to play the game, people need to see people that look like them playing the game. And that's what the Olympics does, and that's what that you got to keep those teams from around the world coming. If there's a team from someplace other than just North America, so
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when you see, you grow up and you watch people, that's why I think, China's got this massive population and hockey gets going over there. I mean, I can tell you just in Vegas, hockey is out of control here now. And there's not enough people to support, like the infrastructure is not there yet. It's just like wham, and when the Golden Knights came in, I'm hoping for Leah's, obviously for Leah's sake, they get into the quarterfinals, they get to play in the knockout stage. And that the Chinese television, just like the Canadian and US television and any other country around the world, is going to focus in on their teams and their athletes. It's a great way to sell the game. And you're right. And these kids can watch at home and go, hey, why can't that be me? And a broader thinking to this is, and maybe a broader growing of the game would be really impressive. So here's hoping.
Nice. Well, let's go from great times in hockey with the we actually I think we're about 30 minutes now. I have no idea.
Holy
What do you
cow.
think? Yeah, so
you know what, I can't see the clock. But
it's 11:35 right now in St. John.
What time is it? Yeah, what time is it in Newfoundland? 12:05.
Well,
Right?
so we'll just do a couple quick things really quick, and I think the saddest and funniest thing was last week was when the Chicago Blackhawks thought they'd have a press conference to get over their worries and show how they're trying, and Rocky Wirtz says, "What is that, a ditch? Let's drive into it."
That's kind of like you and me going down a winter road. Hey, there's no way we're staying out of the ditch. He just went straight in there. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh. It was great how bad it was. It was just, it's just crazy that he would do that. And he just told his son to shut up, let me deal with this. It was just like, oh my God. It was just, and you feel bad because it is the Chicago Blackhawks. You're just like, oh, I don't know. Do you think that affects somebody wanting to take a general manager's job there when you see just how loopy the top echelon is?
Well, it was a little bit shocking to see because the whole, for people who don't know, the whole deal behind the town hall meeting for the Chicago Blackhawks last week was to put the fire out, not throw more gas on it and turn it into an inferno. And so Rocky Wirtz has been in charge of the team for a long time. And one of the things that happened, the Wirtz family's owned the Blackhawks for a long time. They were never on local TV. When Rocky took over, they got carried on local TV. So you know what? Over the course of time, he has done some stuff. Obviously, they've won their Stanley Cups, but they also have the issue with the sexual assault with Kyle Beach. And the question came up about, hey, what are you guys doing? It's a town hall meeting. Everything's on the table here. What are you guys doing about that? And unfortunately, instead of saying, something different, I think there's a little,
instead of saying what we're going to do to make sure this never happens again, and then maybe have a person in charge that knows everything and blah 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 blah, whatever their reason was. We don't talk about that here. We don't talk about that.
It reminded me of maybe sitting down at dinner years ago. Okay, we're done talking about that. We're like, okay, everyone just sit there and shut up. That's not the way it is anymore, and it shouldn't be in this scenario. So they have 3 guys looking for a GM: Eddie Olczyk, Marian Hossa, and Patrick Sharp. And Eddie Olczyk was the moderator, and I was just like, well, there goes the neighborhood. And and then the young guy, the young Wirtz, who's supposed to be taking over the team, his dad kind of just said, no, this is mine. And he issued an apology after, but I think
damage was done.
Yeah, the damage was done, but I think
nobody heard the apology. They all heard what was said. Yeah. That's the thing. And it was bizarre for him to respond like that. Like, how dare you guys bring up what just happened?
Yeah. I mean, they need somebody to come in and actually, understand that situation. Like, for some reason, Ted Lasso comes into my head, like somebody that's really positive. And
it's funny. Yeah.
And yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, we are where we are. Where are we going? And, you can't fix that. That's part of history now. But what you can do is fix what's going on going forward. And, I was one of those kids that was drafted as a young guy and going to a team. And your parents just put all the faith in the world in, starting with your junior team, which at sometimes could be an absolute gong show. Some of the stuff that goes on that has gone on in junior. And then in the show, in the NHL or the minor leagues, you think there's a certain way things operate. And you know what? A lot of this stuff has come to light, so we can fix this stuff and make it a safe place. And, people want to know if the Chicago Blackhawks is going to be a safe place for their kid or any other team.
The problem is they haven't done yet is there's got to be an advocate for the player that they are safe to talk to, that has nothing to do with the team, has nothing, there should be, I don't know who it gets hired by, but there has to be an advocate for these players starting in junior and then having them as well. You got to be able to, and that's all he needed to say. Never again if you say something, will it be ignored? Well,
and here's another thing. The game has changed. So it's come a long ways for the players, but obviously it hasn't come it hasn't come far enough yet. Right. And it's turned into they call it a players league. Now there's a lot of stuff built in, like there's days off built in. Now there's certain things that the teams just can't arbitrarily do. Now, what we're talking about here is as serious as anything there is. And so you're right. You make sure these people are available. These are billion-dollar franchises. I get to guarantee if the Chicago Blackhawks get put up for sale tomorrow, that's well over $1 billion. So you pay someone, whatever it is, 100, 200 grand a year to come in. I don't know, whatever, and make sure that they're safekeeping, and that if there is an issue, that the players have a relationship and know that things are going to get handled. And that's still probably not going to be enough for some players, even though that person's there, because we've seen it, in the past where people bury stuff, right? So at least having someone to talk to.
And if it shouldn't be the team hiring it. The money should be taken from the team and sent to the league or the players union, and then they hire the person. That way, the person's never pressured by the team.
And because all these doctors are the best in the world that work with these teams. But you know what? It takes a lot to be able to say, no, that guy's not playing tonight. And in this case, be able to build in the trust so that these players can come with issues that they might be dealing with, and it gets handled in a safe way.
Right. Let's move on to one last thing. The Mighty Ducks of horrible jerseyness have hired Pat Verbeek as their general manager. I think I'm pretty excited about it. I look forward to seeing what he does, just because of his. I think he played 1,500 games. He played 1,500 games. He's a smart hockey player. He wanted to do this. He's taken jobs in scouting. He's been all over the place. He's been learning to do it, and wants wanted this job. He wanted this job. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Pat Verbeek does. Did you play with him?
No, I played against him, and he did play between, I think, 1,400, 1,500 games, played forever. He was really, really a gritty player, always living in front of the net, was a beast in the corners. And he wasn't the biggest guy, but he was stocky. And so, uh, just an incredible career. Now, here's another guy that's coming to the Detroit organization that's had, some contact, or well, obviously worked with Stevie Y and Stevie and Jimmy Nill. I don't know if Kenny Holland was there. I think Verbeek was there when Kenny Holland was there too. So these guys are all really, really solid hockey men. And I think Verbeek is going to make a big difference in Anaheim. Their team is on the upswing. And I think he knows the kind of players, or at least he's going to find the kind of players to make Anaheim a real legit operation for many years to come. I mean, I tell you, that's a team that's come out this year and I think surprised a lot of people. And then they have some problems in the front office, and they just kind of go with an interim GM for a while, and then they make a hire like this. I think they're in really, really good shape. A lot of really, if you're a Ducks fan, I think there's a lot to be excited about.
I think there's a lot to be excited. He's the kind of guy that makes people want to play for. You want to play for that guy. So, so that he'll be able to keep them in town. Not just the weather will keep them in town. It'll be the team that'll keep them in town. So,
or when you're down at the Spectrum there,
yeah,
in Irvine, like that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, it's like when my face is on that billboard down at the Improv at the Irvine Spectrum, where there's a Ferris wheel going around. Oh, best shopping mall ever. They got a Ferris wheel at it.
Oh, it's the best. What are you there 4 times a year?
3 or 4 times a year. I pop up.
Yeah, so there we go. We got a shameless plug in for you there. I didn't even know when you're there again.
Speaking of plugs, it's time for us to announce. Speaking of plugs, let's get off.
Yeah.
We are proud to announce that we have a what I guess a sponsor is what they are, right? Oh, this is going to be great. We didn't think this through at all. It's just this is the way it's going to happen. Super Deker is a hockey training. It's a board that's covered in a certain material. There's lights underneath it, and there's a puck that goes on it, and you get to enhance your stick handling with this game. It's actually really fun is what it is. But they are now on board with enjoying orange slices with Jeff and Ian. Jeff, you got yours the other day and you tried it out. What'd you think?
I loved it. It wasn't just a game, Ian. It was a way of life. That's how we're going to explain it. And you know what? You're going to love it. And it's not just for the kids. We had it out at a barbecue on Saturday night because it was All-Star weekend, right?
Right.
So I got some clips of me opening it like it was Christmas morning, then me trying to handle the puck on it. And then the commander got on there too, trying to do a little bit of stick handling. Commander Monahan, 30-year veteran of Las Vegas PD, now works with our hometown Knights. But we had a lot of fun with it. And I will say this, it's gonna push your kids, but it's also something that if you had a bunch of adults all around just having some fun, it is a lot. It's a really cool thing. It's a legit board. And I got to tell you, it took me a little bit of time to get going. And I think I need to go out the garage this afternoon and do some more stick handling because
it's fun. It's fun, but it's also embarrassing. You're like, oh, I didn't know. So it's at superdeker.com. Also, we have a slices code. If you put the slices in, you will get some free gifts with it, and extra bands, more spray, extra pucks, because everybody needs extra pucks. So go to that. I'm going to put the code right in the middle here. Check that out. Get yourselves get yourself a board. Well, we're proud to have Super Deker. It's just awesome. I took one up to Edmonton this weekend. I gave one away up there, and everybody that's seen it was, oh, this is awesome. And some people had it and they're like, oh, my kids love this, but when they go to bed, we have friends over and we get drunk on it while we're playing it. So I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to say it that way. We have adult pops while we play this, so it's just fun. It's just fun. So Super Deker, check it out. use the code enjoying orange. No, slices. Code slices.
Slices. Just slices. Just slices.
Nice and easy.
Slices.
Slices.
Slices. Okay.
All right. Any shout outs before we get out of here?
Yeah, I talked about these. Well, I talked about some teams earlier, and I talked about one individual. So I'm going to give a shout out to Leah Lum, who obviously is.
Give a shout out to her parents too.
Yeah, and Debbie and Randy, give them a shout out. They're up in Richmond, British Columbia, but really trailblazing. I couldn't be more proud of her, and I just think, I mean, the what's going to happen, the opportunity is going to spring out of this for her and all these other girls that are introducing hockey to China. It's going to be hopefully a globally felt. I mean, love to see China get into it and the hockey in the world stage, and they're there now. Hopefully they make it to the next round. They'll end up with Canada most likely. And then my other shout out is to the Canadian and U.S. women's Olympic teams and putting on a display last night of just, I mean, it was incredible to watch. The Canadian goalie stood on her head, but the Canadian team, a lot of grit, some timely goal scoring. The U.S. team, lots of pace. You would expect to see these two come together again February 16th on the final. And both of them looked really good, well coached, and a lot of fun to watch. So tune into the women's hockey. I think you'll really enjoy it. So that's my shout outs this week.
That was a good shout out, boy. Mine is a shout out to Trevor Henry. Happy birthday, Trevor. Trevor's birthday, Trevor Henry, one of our most staunch supporters. Trevor Henry lives in Kamloops, British Columbia. Very nice young man, turning 27 this month. So, anyways, love to all, Jeff.
Love to all, everybody. That's it. Wraps up another edition of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. We talked about a lot of things today. We talked about women's hockey. We talked about Trev's birthday, and we talked about the super deker. Slices, slices, slices. That's what you got to remember. Have a great week.